Um, Once again, I want to welcome you all to today's event, which is a Nigerian Center Know Your Right immigration series. And the topic for today is work authorization for international students. I want to give a little bit of a context why this is extremely important. As you may know, Nigerian Center is leading SSR, which is Special Student Relief Campaign, a component of the TPS campaign that we're leading. And part of this include benefits for international students. This program or this conversation is not specific to Nigerians alone. It is applicable to all international students. And when we reached out to the USCIS, we did hear back that international students individually can proceed with their own applications to request work authorization. And this is particularly important for a country like Nigeria and several other African or other countries. Nigeria particularly has been going through a whatever investment you for their
It looks like we've lost Benga. His service just cut out a little bit. I know that he was wanting us to hear from Tosin for a few minutes first before we go on to our Texas A&M University expert in exactly how to do this. And then I'm going to speak last about the actual application process with USCIS. So if Tosin is here, if you could unmute yourself and go ahead and tell us, share with us your story, we're happy to hear that.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So today I just want to share a little bit about economic hardship and some of the different situations and scenarios that I've had in the course of my responsibilities at Wayne County Community College District. Students will usually come to the office with questions about economic hardship, and my responsibility will be to issue them an I-20 after going through all the basic requirements as to whether the student is qualified or not. As we all know, sometimes when you apply for benefits with USCIS, if you don't qualify, sometimes you lose out on the application fee and some of the efforts that you've put into the application. So we do more or less like a background to make sure that every student that is applying is actually qualified for the benefit. A little bit different from a situation where a particular country is labeled for such benefit. So my understanding of some of the things that I'm supposed to talk about today will be the economic hardship itself, the perspective of the institution as to how you recommend students for I-20s before they now move on to talk to an attorney about the application process to USCIS. So basic requirement would be students must have been in the country for at least 365 days. That's the DSO's responsibility to check that, which is more or less an academic year. you have to establish that your sponsor that you presented to the institution as somehow maybe one disconnected from you, maybe you guys fell out, or two, they don't currently have the kind of financial support that they used to offer to you. So when you establish that, and you must also show that academically that you are doing well in school, because USCIS would kind of process your application as a distraction if you are not doing well in school and you're asking for authorization to work. And I've seen situations like that where they will send an RFE, a request for evidence, asking students to provide their official transcript from the schools. So all of that put together, we would then recommend the students by issuing an I-20 asking for economic hardship, after which the students will now apply for the using the form I-765 to apply for work authorization. When approved, then the students will get 1 year at a time. You can extend it up to 3 years, but you get one at a time. And after the first year, you apply again, establish the same situation as far as economic hardship, and you'll be able to submit a renewal application. Another thing that is also very important when it comes to economic hardship application is that students must also show evidence from the sponsor that there's a financial crisis. That could be in form of a letter. It could also be in form of maybe a medical report to show that the sponsor is currently not feeling too well. And as a result, income has really dwindled over time. Evidence can also show economic crisis in a particular country, financial crisis, things that will hinder your sponsor to enjoy the kind of income that will be sufficient enough to accommodate you financially. So if that is established, most of the time, cases are always approved. And I would say, at least for now, maybe 8 out of 10 students are approved for economic hardship. Again, your transcript would definitely be an important document to submit. And also the DSO must also write a letter stating that you have attempted to get a job on campus, but as a result of insufficiency of opportunities on campus, you are asking to work off campus. So when you're able to show all of that, then your application is most likely going to be approved. So I'll be here for questions as far as the school angle to economic hardship application. And if you have any questions, I'll definitely be here to answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tosin. I had a disconnection and I'm back. I hope you can hear and see me quite okay. Thank you for that presentation. I was also going to introduce Mr. Ike Winery, who is a former international student, to just come also and share his experience as an international student, and also just kind of talk from the lived experience of someone who has gone through this process himself. Mr. Ike, could you please unmute and come to the camera? Okay, I think it's no longer there. I think I saw him for a second. So at this point, oh, okay, yeah, it is. I can hear you, IK.
Hello, gentlemen, ladies.
Excellent.
How's everybody doing? All right.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to thank everybody that's able to, I can see a lot of people here. And I want to thank everybody, whether you're an international student, whether you're a faculty, whether you're with the Nigerian Center. What we're all trying to do here is something very admirable. and very important. I myself was an international student that came to America August 28th, 1998. Yes, I don't look that old, but it's all right. I see some people laughing, but it's all right. I'll take it. I'll take it. I use good body lotion, so it has helped me to hide my age. But I graduated from Howard University 2003. And from 1998 to 2003, I always tell people I met hell on earth because I was an international student. In my case, it was a little unique because all my family members were United States citizens, and I'm one of 7 children. And lo and behold, my siblings were getting FAFSA checks in the mail. You just fill out the application, send it in, check comes. That's how it used to be. And I used to fill out the application and send it in, and I'll get 1-page letter saying, you are not you're not qualified to even send in the application. What are you doing, right? So I used to wonder why me. I knew it wasn't race because my whole family is the same race. But I got to realize that being an international student in America meant you were more of a lesser status than US citizens or green card holders. And then I'm like, okay, fine. Let me go work on campus. I work 20 hours. I want to work 80 hours in a week because I know how much it is after my scholarship was rescinded. And my scholarship to Howard University was a 4-year scholarship that after 1 semester, they announced they are going to rescind it for financial reasons. And they start rescinding from the international students because they're the least important. And they work their way up through the green card holders and the citizens. So imagine being a freshman from Nigeria coming to America, and you're going through the pressure of, I'm trying to do computer science, which is a fully loaded engineering program. And you're trying to do over 18 credits a semester. And you have to deal with, now my finances have been taken away and I have to find a way to make $7,000 a semester. I had to work hard. I had to get creative for 5 years to graduate. I got to get some good advice from different people. I created a company on campus and I was running a startup on campus. And that startup, an LLC, is actually how I eventually got my green card. So I actually went through that route, which a lot of people didn't. Some people had to leave, not graduate, and go away. So when I graduated, one thing I've been doing with my organization is we started a foundation. My wife and I started a foundation. My wife's a nurse. She came here on a green card, which her situation was better than mine, thank God. So I suffer alone. But we started a foundation that helps international students get scholarship, work opportunities, and development, as well as, just for themselves, because there's the mental aspect as well as the financial aspect. Remember I told you I felt a lot of stress about it. Some nights I just felt alone. Even with my siblings, I felt alone. I felt like I was less for a little bit. But eventually, when I broke through that shell, I didn't want a lot of people to go through that anymore. So we also raised funds to give international students scholarships, as well as raise funds and programs and seminars to help international students learn about work after school, realities during school, how to take advantage of your summers, how to take advantage of your holidays, right? Compared to how to navigate America, how to learn about America now before the time comes that, you might get challenges, how to be better than you are so that way you can be in the lineup of companies that want to give you an H-1 visa. So that's what we've been doing in our organization. The Nigerian Center is going to provide you much more details of that. So I decided to join this call to let everybody know that if you're an international student, I feel your story. I understand how it is. It is much better now than before and much easier now than before, not just through this program, but just in general. But through this program that the Nigerian Center is coordinating, it would make and change the game for international students, especially for countries like Nigeria that there's currency fluctuation, Sudan that's having their hardship with wars. So I have to say thank you to Nigerian Center for the collaboration that we'll be doing and putting in place between our foundation and theirs to support this initiative, as well as broadcast and market and promote this initiative for as many international students to not go through the dark times like some of us did. So don't know if that's Benga, if that's good enough.
Yes, thank you very much. And I think the word I was looking from that the experience was close to trauma that what you went through on campus. But thanks for sharing that. IKES Foundation will be making commitments and support towards international students And stay tuned, more details of that will be coming soon. At this moment, I want to turn it over to Ms. J for our presentation. Please come to the microphone and unmute yourself, Jay.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Nigerian Center, for organizing this workshop. And I want to say something about Mr. Ike's remarks. Believe it or not, I'm also an international student. I was, right? I technically speaking graduated later than him. However, I remember definitely less compared to how much he remembers of his F1 years. All right. Today, we're going to talk about financial hardship, right? I hope that the perspective from Texas A&M University, how our international office helping our students deal with financial hardship in general, hopefully that can help you a little bit. It's very exciting to see everyone come from all over the place inside the US, right? And then now I'm going to, can I have the share screen function?
Yes, in 1 second.
Sure. I'm also going to drop the link of the site I want to share with you in the chat. If you want, you can just look at this. So I'm just going to start talking, right? First thing for everyone.
I just extended the privileges. Did it come
perfect.
through?
Yes, I got it. Thank you so much. All right. So let me know if you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So this is a comprehensive page, right? Actually, Mr. Tosin shared a lot of stuff about how to apply for financial hardship. My part is somehow overlapping with his part because the part of the school international office is going to help you is the same, really similar, right? However, I do want to mention a little bit. We understand how hard financial hardship is, and it's very complicated, right? And it's kind of like case by case. Everyone's financial hardship is a little bit different. And like Mr. Ike said, right, F1 students are one of the non-immigrant class in terms of US immigration. It does have a lot of limitations about how much you can do, right? Like compared to US citizens, of course, compared to green card holders, usually they don't have as much of a restriction in terms of work eligibility. However, as an F1 student, you do have a lot of restrictions. And also remember, this is one of the status that how we compare like a self-sufficient immigration status, right? Remember how you apply for your first I-20? You kind of have to show a lot of financial documents to make sure you can actually support your study in your university before the international office can actually issue you an I-20. So when we talk about financial hardship, we have to talk about financial resources. I want you to believe, right? If you have not reached out to your international office yet, definitely make an appointment. Because like today, we're talking about the employment authorization card for the financial hardship work authorization. But again, if your financial hardship is a little different, if there are any other better options, this might be just one of the many options you have, right? So, okay, so we have a page, right? We're going to start with financial resources. We are at Texas A&M. Believe it or not, our international office actually doesn't offer any of the direct financial resources. We collaborate with a lot of other university offices to provide a lot of options, right? So some of the options are listed here. We collaborated quite a bit with the scholarship and the financial aid office. One thing I do want to mention, this is definitely something in Texas. I wonder if your state does the same, is if you meet certain criteria, you can pay the tuition as an in-state tuition, which is a lot cheaper than you paying as an out-of-state resident. So that's something, if you have never heard about, that's something you probably want to ask around. There are some scholarships available here. Another good thing is assistantship or fellowships, right? At A&M, a lot of academic department offers you a financial aid package. You work for the school. And then as part of your compensation, right, it comes with some of our students, like their graduate or assistants, their tuition fees and insurance are actually paid by the department. So if you can have one of those offers, that could really help if you're experiencing a lot of difficulties of paying bills. And then there are also a lot of other on-campus work. Like Ms. Tosin mentioned, right? Sometimes when you apply for this benefit, the EAD card based on economic hardship, right? Sometimes they want you to prove that the on-campus employment work is not available. So it will be definitely easier to choose to see what kind of options you have just for on-campus work. And now we move to the financial hardship, right? Once again, right, determines it depending on what kind of financial hardship you have. Sometimes I'm a couple of bucks short. I need something immediate versus long term. I lost my sponsor. I need a long-term plan. And we have some sort of food resources. And of course, there are, because A&M is kind of big. So there are a lot of other offices offer support to you. That is not necessarily offered by our office. However, together, we're supposed to work together to help you to go through this. So I just want to mention there are a lot of other resources, right? You probably don't know. That's totally fine. That's what your international office is supposed to do to connect you to the right resource. Another 2 points I want to mention, right? At A&M, when we help with students who have financial hardships, we're talking about setting very realistic expectations, right? So that is, first of all, we help you assessing your financial hardship, like previously, like we said, right? How much money are you expecting to have, right? What is the deadline for certain tuition and fee payment? A lot of the factors mentioned here is gonna really help us to determine the urgency of your financial hardship and the scope of your financial hardship. Another thing I do want to mention, I see some of the questions mentioned about like CPT or OPT, right? There could be other employment options, and your international office absolutely should be able to help you figure it out. A lot of factors might into play, right? For example, at Texas A&M, right? We know that as a full-time student, you're required to enroll full-time, right? Then if you have on-campus employment, like can you increase on-campus employment during major semesters? Or like, do you need to reduce course load? Or do you need to apply for any off-campus employment, right? And then that comes with all the options we kind of mentioned, but today we're going to focus on this kind, right? Yes. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I think you can unmute yourself if you have a question, right? I'm just gonna continue. So a lot of the options, for example, right, what we have help with our students is like, oh, I'm actually gonna graduate really soon, right? And they're like, okay, maybe OPT is a better option for you compared to the severe economic hardship work authorization, right? Some other students say, I actually do have an academic requirement to do an internship. In that case, maybe CPT is a better option, right? So just like I said, everybody's financial hardship is a little bit different. So it will be really helpful for you to talk to your international office. They can figure out a better option for you. I also want to mention, right? So I'm also an international student. The last thing I want is for any of our students apply for this work authorization. Work authorization does not directly translate into direct income, right? The worst thing I hate is for anyone.
Sorry, is this what 306 is?
Sure.
307.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
We are
Sorry.
going to ask you please unmute if please everyone unmute. If we have questions, please hold on. After the presentation, we will be taking questions. Thank you very much. Ms. J, you can please proceed.
Thank you, right? So there could be a lot of other options. The last thing I want, right, is you apply for this work authorization, you get it approved. However, there's a huge piece. You will have to find a job. You have to find a good job with decent income. Because like I told to a lot of students in the state of Texas, right? The last thing I want is there could be a better option for on-campus employment that with decent pay on campus, however, you didn't know about, and then you end up with having a job off campus only paying minimum wage. That would not be very good, right? So if you have not done so, definitely reach out to your international office, let them know your concerns so they can help you assessing your financial hardship and also evaluate what is the best option for you. And also I want to thank you, the Nigerian Center, for the advocacy work for special student relief and also temporary protected status, right? A lot of times they're going hand in hand. I can guarantee you the second when we have SSR or TPIS designate for Nigeria, we know exactly what to do, right? We will send out emails to you. You just have to stop by our office. A lot of other creative ways, right? It might not really appear as a conventional solution, but it actually kind of is. One thing our student business office do is you could do a payment plan, right? Like maybe you are having difficulties to pay all the money all at once, but a lot of them, like if you work with them, you actually can have a payment installment plan, like pay a portion at this time and just continue your payment until something's done. However, that will be a specific process with your student business office. So you will have to reach out to them. And also, managing finances, even if you don't have financial hardship, it's already pretty difficult, right? I just want to let you know, it's just super difficult. And of course, if you need help, absolutely reach out to the office, because this is literally why we're here to help you, right? Now I'm going to also share this link in the chat, right? Of course, Mr. Tyson already went through a lot of the required documentation eligibility for you to apply for the severe economic hardship work authorization. So this is just an additional resource for you. But remember, right, this is just Texas A&M. I bet your international office might have a different process. So more of a reason you reach out to them so they can help you by submitting like an application to USAS. And now I believe my portion is done. I will turn the microphone to April so she can actually tell you what you need to do when you compile the application packets to do this.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to show you how to fill out your application for the work permit. You do not need an attorney for this process. If you feel more comfortable hiring an attorney for that process, you can, but you don't need one. So just, I'm old, so just give me a second to share my screen and then we're going to get into that. So Benga, I think you have to give me permission to share my screen.
So Jay, I think you can transfer that. Ms. Jay can transfer the hosting to April.
Okay. While we're getting that done, two things that I want to make you guys aware of. One is what's called a T visa or a trafficking visa. If you find yourself in a situation where you have been working for a company and they have not paid you, or a person and they have not paid you, and they're attempting to use your status as a reason that they don't have to pay you, you might be eligible for a T visa. People typically think of that in terms of sex trafficking, but it's also labor trafficking. So if that's something that happens to you, bring that to your DOS's attention and get someone who can help you with that, or come to us at the Nigerian Center. We can help you with that, okay? The other thing that I want you to be careful about is violating your student status. If you're working without permission, that's a violation of your student status. And the reason why it's important is because it could make you ineligible for adjusting your status in the future. It causes unlawful presence. The moment that you violate your status, you are now in the US without lawful permission. So 2 things to note. All right, so first we have here the I-765, which is the actual employment authorization application. The first thing that I want to point out to you is in part 1. If you're applying under this economic hardship, this is an initial permission to accept employment. That doesn't matter if you had a previous EAD under a J1, J2, G1, it doesn't matter. If this is your first application under this policy of economic hardship, then you're going to select that it's my initial application right there. Okay. The second thing that I want to point out to you is on this to the side. Oh. Excuse me. I already gave the disclaimer that I'm old, so just bear with me. Okay. This section here, right here at the top where it says information about your eligibility category. So I want to move this too. Okay. All right. Eligibility category is going to be different on what category you're applying under. So for this category, it's the C3 III category. Okay, that's the one that applies for economic hardship. And there's only 2 more things I want to point out on here. I zoomed past one of them. Here is where you put your father's name and your mother's name. For people that I work with from certain countries, this can be a little bit confusing. You're going to put your biological parents here or the parents that matched your birth certificate, okay? And every question on this application is not for you. Some of the questions on this application apply to people who are applying for asylum or VAWA. So just be careful, everyone's not for you. And let's see here. If you have any questions about the form, the best thing to do is EDD application, USCIS. I'm opening this again because I lost it from where I opened it earlier. On the USCIS website, they actually have instructions for every form. So your first place to go to find some resource is right here, instructions for form I-765. If you don't find the answer there, then you can start your external resources. But first, be sure to review that instruction form, okay? Now, the fees. If you are applying online, then your application fee is $470. If you're applying by paper, meaning you're filling everything out and mailing it into USCIS, the application fee is $520. If you don't have the money to pay the application fee, you can request a fee waiver using this form. That's the I-912. Now at the top of this form, right here, it asks your reason. What is your financial issue you're having that you're requesting this? Yours is going to be here, C. I have a financial hardship. Okay, but again, this form also has instructions on USCIS's website. So if you have any questions, your first place to go before you ask anyone else is to read this instruction form for the I-912. And let's see, what's the last thing I had here? Oh no, that was the thing I was showing you, the fee schedule. All right, we did that. So now I'm going to come over here to this Word document. Once you've got this form completed, that's the I-765 form, you've got your filing fee or your request for a fee waiver. You're also going to submit 2 passport-sized photos. Those are the photos they're going to use to generate your work permit card. A copy of your government-issued photo identification, proof of your school enrollment showing that you're in good standing with the school, a copy of your current I-20, a copy of your I-94 record. If you don't have your I-94 record, you can find that on CBP's website, and then your proof of economic hardship. I would recommend that you also prepare a cover letter explaining why you're applying for work permit and just laying out your, instead of submitting bits of information, have your cover letter that ties everything together. You're going to make a copy of everything you're submitting to USCIS before you mail it out if you're doing the paper application. If you're doing the electronic application, you want to download a copy of your application before you submit it so that you can have that copy for your own records. All right, so that is everything I have on my little note that I wanted to share, but I see that there's a lot of things in the chat. So let's take some questions if I can. Let me stop screen sharing and go to the chat. Okay. So a lot of these questions are probably for you, Jay.
And before Jay comes up, April, if you want to talk about Nigerian Center Immigration Clinic,
Oh, absolutely.
And the walkthrough, how that might be of assistance.
Absolutely. So on Thursdays from 12:30 to 4:30, we do walk-in immigration consultations at the Nigerian Center. So you are welcome to come to any of those walk-in appointments to get assistance with your application as well as any other immigration issues you might be having. We have people who are on student visas come in to explore what options they have for residency when they graduate. We can also evaluate your academic history and your work history to see whether you're eligible for EB-2 visas, national interest waivers. Some of you are getting married, so if you want some suggestions on how to file your spousal visa, we can help you with that too. So we do a little bit of everything. and you can definitely use us for a resource or a starting point after you've read the instructions if you need help. Okay. Let's see here.
And I also want to add that for those who are not in the DMV area, there is a virtual option. There's a small fee of $55 for that option. You can still get the same assistance in person virtually, so you don't have to be in the DMV area to take advantage of that. So go to nigeriancenter.org/immigration. You can learn everything you need to know about our immigration program. I also wanted to add also, and feel free to add on to this, April. We have country conditions about Nigeria. Would that be helpful for the application?
Absolutely. If your economic hardship is the general conditions of what's happening with the valuation of money in Nigeria, you can go to the Nigerian Center website and use those resources. If you have a more specific situation about a family member losing a job or a medical issue, then obviously the documents you're going to be submitting are different.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of questions in the chat box and it's open to all the speakers, but Mr. Tosin, I was wondering if you can speak about your experience with Nigerian specifically student experience with requesting fee waivers. Has that been a good or not a good thing for them?
For the fee waiver, one thing that I've come to realize is that USCIS will most of the time refer to information completed by students at the time of visa application. So you have these bank statements that you've submitted, you've mentioned that you have a sponsor, and all of that in your DS-160. And upon arrival, in less than 2 semesters, the money is all gone. Well, you qualify to apply for economic hardship, but for a fee waiver, it's a very hard argument to make. And the reason being that you're applying for economic hardship based on a situation that just became kind of known to you. It's not something that has been there. And you have to be able to show why that is important. So a case in point is one where a student's sponsor was admitted because they had an accident, and the student needed a fee waiver. They applied, and that was denied. And they sent it back again, asking for a reconsideration. And the decision came back as approved, because now they have hospital records, and they have in the second application, they were able to show a compelling reason why fee waiver should be granted, and the student eventually got that. But for the most part, I'll say maybe that's just about 10% of fee waivers that are approved. We always, in fact, we have this joke in my office where we say, you have to pay to apply for economic hardship. So, so at the end of the day, that's how they process their. And one other thing that I forgot to mention, when applying for economic hardship, students must be very, very careful about the time they have left on their I-20. Economic hardship is granted to the extent of your I-20. So if your I-20 is expiring in 10 days and you put in for economic hardship, you are only getting work authorization for 10 days. It's as simple as that. So always factor that in when you apply to make sure that you have enough time to accommodate your regular 1 year economic hardship that you eventually going to get. You cannot apply on impulse. So you have to plan, you have to be strategic about it. Talk to the DSO of your institution, let them know you're applying for economic hardship. If your program is ending, you have 2 semesters left, don't apply, because if it takes about 2 to 3 months before they approve, and your I-20 is expiring in 2 semesters, at the end of the day, you might end up getting 4 months of economic hardship instead of 1 year. So be strategic about it. And another thing, and I'm sorry, I know I'm deviating from the question, but I saw a lot of questions in the chat that I wanted to comment on. So another question, someone asked if economic hardship application affects your OPT. The answer is no. OPT is different. What affects your OPT, post-completion OPT, is your CPT, your curricular practical training. If you take a curricular practical training up until, let's say, 12 months of your program, that could affect post-completion OPT, but economic hardship does not. And it does not affect your green card application. When you're adjusting status, it has nothing to do with economic hardship because you would be filing F1 status is non-immigrant. Green card status is immigrant status. So those are two different categories. And I know a lot of students, we sometimes should change ourselves, thinking that, oh, if I apply for economic hardship, what I'm saying is that they kind of relate it to public charge. Those are two different things. Economic hardship is not public charge. Public charge is using government facilities and government provisions. Economic hardship is you applying for authorization to work. So you're actually working for whatever you're going to end up getting, be it salary, be it acquisition of anything. So those are two different things. It's within your right to apply if you think you have a compelling story why you should be approved. So, but for the fee waiver, most of the time, we've not had a lot of success on that for sure.
Thank you so much. I want to turn it back to Ms. J. And particularly, you mentioned in your presentation, Jay, that international students may qualify for in-state tuition, and that got a lot of reaction. Can you elaborate on that? And if there's other questions you also want to touch on in the chat box, you can do so.
Thank you. Of course, right? I realized that the second when I said that, right, because we're talking about a lot of states here. And every state essentially is different. A lot of school operates not only based on immigration regulations, which is federal regulation that like we all have the same rules. Like when Mr. Tosin shared a lot of the rules, it's the same rules I operated in Texas at Texas A&M University, right? However, there's also the level of state. So, like I said, the resident for tuition purposes, if you're coded as in-state, I know for sure it's the thing in Texas. However, I have no clue if it's that the thing in your state. So more of a reason, definitely talk to your international office because they would know if you're eligible for that or not, because every state is very different. And also another thing I want to mention, right, when a lot of things is different, right? I share a couple links from our website. Remember, right, we're at Texas A&M University. That is the international office at Texas A&M University. That's the procedures we have, right? However, if you just Google like F1 student economic hardship, you will have a lot of website link with a lot of schools have similar procedures because we all have to operate based on the F1 immigration regulation. However, the part with the school specific procedures, that is still different. Another reason you have to really talk to your international office, right? So this is why kind of like for DSOs or for Mr. Tosin for us, right? It's kind of like you only can speak on behalf of your school, right? I don't know, like if any of you are actually from Texas A&M University, you should definitely email me so I can hook you up with the right resources. So just with a huge caveat, right? Remember, a lot of things are state specific. You have to check with your separate state. And a lot of procedures are school specific, right? So we have those kind of procedures. Does not always mean your school will have the same thing. So more for two reasons, you really have to talk to your international office to figure those details out. Another thing I want to mention, right? So unfortunately for the severe economic hardship EAD card, you don't have the online filing option. You kind of have to paper file, right? So that's kind of like, so which means you have to prepare a check, right? You have to mail your application in, so which is kind of like not very convenient or modern, right? However, for example, like for OPT and for a lot of the OPT I-765s, you actually can file online. So another thing to take into consideration, I think Mr. Tosin also touched base on a great point. because it's a little bit of like a gray thing, very complicated, right? As an F1 student, right, you have to demonstrate you have enough resources to apply for the I-20, to apply for the F1 visa, to come here in F1 status, right? Then immediately, if you want to file for this work authorization based on economic hardship, that's kind of like, so it appears to be a little bit conflicting information. So a lot of supporting evidence, you really do have to emphasize how your financial situation has changed, like drastic change from when you apply for the visa application, right? So that's something you really want to focus on. Another reminder I want to let you know, right? Like when Ms. April shared, there are a lot of other petitions you might be interested in, right? Remember, immigration takes time, right? And a lot of the procedures we share here is an actual application requires paperwork with convincing evidence. Because a lot of times my students say, I have financial hardship. Can I just make an appointment with USS to meet with the officer to tell him or her my economic hardship? It doesn't work like that, unfortunately, right? So it usually is for you to communicate your financial needs. We turn it into an actual petition with compelling evidence, an I-20 issued by your international office, and then you submit it timely to USAS. So do want to let you know, right? Believe it or not, we all feel your pain because managing finances is never fun, right? It's a very serious matter. However, in terms of immigration, usually is immigration application or petition related. You have to be really realistic and turn everything into a good petition so you can get this authorization approved.
Excellent.
I think, yeah.
And Jay, I should also mention that someone said earlier that your background is beautiful or wonderful, is giving hope. I thought that was very interesting and
Thank you.
And good to know. Okay, there's two questions coming in. I think the last question is, can you talk about I think it's pre OPT in
Pre-OPT.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Pre-OPT and economic hardship, right? So it's two separate EAD cards, right? So you have to make a decision which one you want to apply for, right? I can answer a little bit of that. Both have very similar limitations. Like you cannot work more than 20 hours when the school is in session. You can't work full-time when the school is on break, like summer break, right? Another biggest important distinction, pre-OPT, just like post-OPT, your work has to be related to your degree level and major. But the EAD for the severe economic hardship, that can be any jobs. It doesn't have to relate to your degree level or major. So that's kind of a big difference. And another big difference, I guess, pre-OPT, as part of OPT, you can actually file online. So you can pay with a credit card online, right? But unfortunately for the severe economic hardship, EAD card, you have to file that manually. Yeah, that's kind of like the very obvious differences. All right, so we have a question like, actually, we have a lot of questions asking more information. I think about the Nigerian Center, like, can you share the link or make an appointment or something? I think it might be good for.
Yeah, for the clinic, you don't have to make an appointment. You can just walk in. If you're not in this area, so you're not available, then you submit a form to request a Zoom consultation. I think Benga maybe is going to show you that right now. While he's queuing up to share something, one thing that I do want to really emphasize is that everything that you submit to immigration is available for the officer to review at any time you submit a new application. So whatever you submitted with your initial F1 application is going to be available for them to review when you request economic hardship. Will also be available for them to review if you go on and you're requesting an EB2 visa or if you do a spousal visa. So just be aware that all that information needs to be kept consistent.
Okay. We're getting a lot of questions about our immigration clinic. Once again, the program, it's a free program. It's a walk-in free program for DMV residents or those who are able. You don't have to live in any of the DMV states. As long as you're able to walk in, it's a free program. If you're not able to walk in or come to the Washington, D.C. metro area, you can go to our website, go to nigeriancenter.org/immigration. If you scroll down a little bit, there's an option that said an intake form. You go ahead and click the intake form. I'm ready to proceed with my immigration inquiry. You fill up that form. Once you complete the form, there's a prompt to make a $55 fee payment. Is a one-time fee payment. And then once you get that, a lawyer will follow up with you to schedule your virtual appointment. You don't have to do that all the time. You need to speak to a lawyer. If it's still the same case, you can submit multiple inquiries and follow up with the lawyer that you speak with. And it's not just limited to work authorization, this particular topic. As April mentioned, virtually all aspects of immigration that you might be going through.
I will make one caveat.
Yes.
People do sometimes think that if they come in on Thursday, they can email me anytime during the week to ask questions. I just can't work like that. I can't answer questions for free all day long, every day. So if you come in for a consultation and all your questions don't get answered, please try to come back on another Thursday to ask additional questions, or understand if I ask you for a consultation fee. Because I do get a lot of people who will repeatedly email more and more questions, and it's just not really, it's not the service that we're providing, and it's harmful to me.
Thank you for that clarification. I will also mention that as much as possible, come with all the information you need to be reviewed when you come in. Don't come and say, I left this, I don't have this ready. As much as possible. Also, if you want the lawyers to review your application, you are able to get that benefit, but you have to have the application completed before you come in. And she points, when specifically with this authorization, that was why that instruction is important sheet, to go through all the instruction to the best of your ability, and you can either email it or bring it into the center.
Please, can I say something right quickly, please?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. So a few questions that I saw. One, someone asked if the economic hardship has to be in the field of study. The answer is no. When you apply for economic hardship, it can actually be in any field. Only OPT is restricted to your course of study. And another question is whether EAD can be used for online employment. The answer is also yes, as long as it's within 20 hours during school section. When you're on vacation, you can work up to 40 hours. But during school, it's limited to 20 hours. Then pre-completion OPT, just one side note. Once you apply for pre-completion OPT, please be reminded that your 1 year OPT after completion is deducted. The pre-completion is deducted from the 1 year. So if you use 6 months pre-completion OPT, when you are done with your program, you only get 6 months of OPT. So please note that pre-completion is not independent of the post-completion OPT. You are taken from the same pot, and USCIS they'll remember when you apply. So please take note of that.
Binga, there's a question about who's eligible for EB2. If you go on the Nigerian Center's YouTube page, we had a prior session explaining EB2 requirements and how to make your applications stronger. And so you can find that recording on the Nigerian Center's YouTube page.
Yes. And so quickly, I want to talk about our upcoming events. I also still want to talk about other opportunities to get involved with what we're doing. I just want to make a very quick infomercial here that, as you know, October 1st is Nigerian Independence Anniversary. And for us in Washington, D.C., it's also Nigerian American Day. And we are screening a documentary just for Nigeria on that day in Washington, D.C. So if you go to our website, you would be able to get the details of this. tickets are available right now. Take advantage of that. Go to nigeriancenter.org/events to hear about our plans for October 1st, which is in the Nigerian and Nigerian American community. Back to the questions about how to get involved in the work that we do. So there are a lot of volunteer opportunities on our website. If you go to nigerian.org/serve, there are a ton of volunteer opportunities. Nigerian Center is a volunteer-led team, and we can use your expertise. There are taxes, preparers that are certified by the IRS. There are language instructors. There's a small business program, our policy program, our communication team. There are several opportunities on our website. Please complete a cover letter and application. You can email that info. It has all the information to do so. We have a community partners network that help us to get the word out for the work that we do. A lot of you are here today because of efforts of our community partners to help us get the word out. If you want to join that community, and pretty much the commitment is to help us educate your community, the work that you're doing, and you can get resources across them. Go to nigeriancenter.org/community partners. It's a very short form that you can fill out. So as April mentioned, we have a YouTube page. It's very robust. It has years of content of the several Know Your Right immigration series that we've been doing quite frequently. We've covered family-based immigration, special juvenile immigrant status. We've covered the whole spectrum of humanitarian-based immigration, asylum, TPS. We've covered the whole spectrum of employment-based immigration, employment-based EB1 to EB5. There's a lot of information there. This particular recording of today's workshop will also go to our YouTube page sometimes this week. So go to YouTube page, follow us there so you can get updates with our program. If you're not following us, we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at the Nigerian Center or Nigerian Center. Please ensure that you follow us. Speaking opportunities, we take speaking opportunities. There's a page on our website. You can also submit speaking opportunity request on our website. We'll consider that as well. April, you had want to have something?
Oh yeah, just for the purposes of the recording, a lot of the answers that Jay is giving in the chat are not going to be available for people watching the recording. So I just wanted to read some of them.
Okay. So 1 second, and then we'll go ahead and read that. And thank you for catching that.
Of course, right? I just want to jump in, right? So the reason I can find those links is I use Google. So like if you can Google, like you will find all the links.
Yeah. So while you're still online, please go ahead and click on those links now so you can have them open in your browser. Because you might not be seeing those links when you're doing the replay of the recording. Okay, the last thing I want to mention is our donation page. We are a 501c3 organization. We really need your financial support to continue the work that we are doing in any capacity. Financial donation doesn't mean you have to give us a lot of money every month or every day. If it's $5, whatever commitment you can make, it goes a long way. We are a 501c3 organization. Your donation are tax deductible. And a lot of people say, Nigerian Center, how do you do the work that you do? It's because of donations that come from the community. So we are counting on that. Please make a donation to support the work that we do at nigeriancenter.org. I think that is all I have. And April, you can go ahead and highlight those details that you mentioned.
Actually, I should ask Jay, do you want to read some of them? I just wanted to make sure that they were available for the recording.
The links I shared?
Oh, no, like, for example, someone asked, when's the best time to apply for OPT?
Right.
You gave a
I
very
would do that.
comprehensive answer.
Absolutely, right? So I want to echo back to Mr. Tosin, how he answered some of the questions about like, can I do an online job, right? Think about this. There are a lot of things your international office should remind you, do not do this. Like, for example, like an online job, driving for Uber, or what's the other one? The Lyft, right? Or like DoorDash and pick up some food for other people and do delivery thing. Usually international office will tell you, do not do those because you don't have work authorization for that, right? However, now today we are talking about work authorization for severe economic hardship. Once you have the proof of EAD, those jobs you can do, right? I usually tell students sometimes, it will really help if you have a car, because I heard like driving home Uber might be good money, but I wouldn't know, right? Another thing I want to mention is if you have no clue how to find a job, right? Because you might have the work authorization, but you don't have a job, which means you're still not going to have direct income. You might want to reach out to your career service, right? A lot of schools have a career office. They will prep you how to job hunt, how to prep your resume, because you want to prep good so you can land a good paying job, right? All right, so some of the others, before I answer some other question, one thing I want to remind you, right? Keeping good documentation is absolutely critical. When Miss April talking about, oh, in the future, you can apply for all kinds of different petitions. Sometimes, right, USS will send like some additional information to you, say, hey, I want you to provide information in the period that happened like years ago, right? So in that case, for severe economic hardship, like Mr. Tosin and I said, right, there are certain rules. You cannot work more than 20 hours when school is in session, right? You can only work full time when school is on a break. The thing is, every school's break period is different, right? Every school session is different. At A&M, for example, we literally start fall semester like this Monday. Pretty sure your school is different, right? Keeping good documentation to prove I only worked for whatever job from this date to that date, that's going to really help. Because one thing when we work for immigration, we know is even if something initially is problematic, right? Nobody gonna catch you right now. What they will find out is later when you apply for other immigration petitions, they send you information. Hey, how about you provide some evidence to me, like something you've done 5 years ago. If you don't have a good documentation kept for your records, that's going to be a problem, right? So especially for the severe economic hardship, right, it's state specific, you want to make sure you keep good documentation, keep any job offers letters you actually have, right? Keep the employment records like pay slips, like a document to prove you work from this day to that day, how many hours. Those records are going to be very critical. If in the future what happens, you actually did not violate any rules about the severe economic hardships. So that's also critical, right? So another, some of the specific question, like I have 2 semesters left, all right? I have 2 years to graduate. When is the best time to apply for this, right? So I have to go back to my origin point, right? Everybody's financial hardship is different, right? I need 5,000 like tomorrow. It's gonna be different. I need $20,000 next month or next year. That's gonna be very different. Your option will also be different based on the urgency and the scale of your financial hardship. So this is why, like, you probably say, like, why can't you just give me the answers right now? You work for an international office. That's true, but everything is different, right? Everything is different. This is why you really have to talk to your school so they can actually find the good option for you. Like I said, oh, in Texas, there's a resident for tuition thing, right? And the other people just say, actually, in the United States, not a thing. So that's a perfect example to show everything is different. You have to talk to the right office to figure out the right procedures to achieve whatever you want to do. And let's see. Yeah, for people who are planning to transfer to university from the community college, so in the meantime, you apply for EAD, that's going to be a thing. Because, when we talk about transfer, it's transfer your CS record, right? From this school to the other school, typically speaking, you want to start applying for the EAD once you finish this transfer thing. Because transfer will also change your program end date. Like Mr. Tosin said, program end date is kind of like deciding the end date of your EAD card. Again, in that case, you probably want to talk to both international office before you transfer and after, right? To have a better advice for you. Like timing, another huge thing for immigration, right? When you apply for something absolutely critical, you want to be strategic about it. You want to be proactive. Go to your international office. All right. Can
Excellent.
one work outside without OPT or CPT work authorization? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, right? So I think most of our students here are F1 students. Do you ever wonder why there are 3 pages of I-20 for you, right? Every time we issue like thousands of I-20, every I-20 will have 3 pages. Have you ever wondered why? Because remember, are you required to sign the I-20? Yes, you are. And every time when you sign I-20, you acknowledge, you read all the instructions, disclaimers on page 3. That's the instruction page. A lot of our students don't read that either. One part specifically said you cannot work without authorization. So by signing the I-20, you acknowledge, you understand you cannot work without authorization. And if you did, that's not going to be good, right? It's definitely not going to be pretty. Do not do that, right? What is the plan for government about giving international students work authorization like Canada did? Interesting. I think that's a very complicated thing. I don't think Canadian students F1 they have any like a special work authorization that you guys don't have. I don't think that's a thing. However, in terms of work visa, there is such thing for Canadians to apply. Of course, Ms. April can answer that. So I guess I don't really know how to answer this question.
The person asking the question, are you asking if there's any policy that has been introduced by our government to allow students to work freely without any restrictions? Because if that's your question, the answer is no. I don't even think that there's any senators who've even proposed such a thing.
Absolutely not a thing. Yeah.
And I also think that may be touching on, I don't know what the name of that visa is. That is
TN visa, probably.
Yeah, I think Canadian nationals, you know, I think the question might be, does that extend to them as international student?
No, it only extends to Canadians.
If they are Canadians, but they're also international student, does it mean
Oh,
that
you said the person is a Canadian international student. No, if you're in the US on an F1 visa, you have to abide by the F1 visa. You don't get all the benefits that any Canadian would get.
Excellent.
Yeah, at this point, I want to say, right, as far as I know, the only benefit Canadian students have is they're exempt from applying for a visa. That's the only thing I know, right? They can just get I-20, go to the border, and then enter, right? Or flying in. They don't have to apply, but there's absolutely nothing like a special work authorization for Canadian students only. That is not available to anyone else that I know.
Okay. Now, I quickly wanted to recognize in our midst, thank you so much, and apologies for doing this late, but nonetheless, we do have in attendance Ambassador Rabiu Lawal, who is the sitting ambassador at the Nigerian Embassy in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much, sir. I don't know if you want to come to the microphone or video to say a few words. If not, we understand. We just want to recognize that we thank you for coming to join us today, sir. So we're going to give Ambassador a few seconds to either come. If not, we recognize it once again. Thank you so much for representing the embassy here and joining us today. Okay, I think, are there any other pending questions that we have? I think we pretty much covered everything. I just want to thank every single one of our speakers. Please let us give them thank you. Yes, thank you for that chat, Stephen. Can we just give a virtual round of applause to our wonderful speakers, you know, for giving us this wealth of information and saving this community of students from possible hardship and trauma and suffering that the speaker encountered about 20 years ago, that I don't have to repeat the reality, the story of the previous generation. Thank you for helping our community alter and change the narrative. Thank you, Mr. Tosin. Thank you, Ms. April. Thank you, Ms. J. And I also want to recognize the Nigerian Center team, in Kechi, particularly working tirelessly on our TPS campaign. I also want to recognize Ms. Abby Sanders, who also worked tirelessly with this particular campaign as well. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a fabulous, fantastic rest of the day. Stay blessed, everyone, and thank you all for coming.